Today's adventure is restoring a Viking 6460 sewing machine. I have restored a good many sewing machines in my life, but this is my first Viking, and I was interested in this one because it's in pretty good cosmetic condition, but has a lot of other things wrong. That sounds a little bit perverse, I know, but I wanted the challenge of covering a number of issues that the Viking is known to have, and boy, this one has got them. Fortunately, there is a service manual available as a free download online for this model, and we're making good use of it. Jack is helping me with this one. I have the actual training as a sewing machine mechanic and long years as a seamstress, but he has greater mechanical experience in general, which is very valuable in a tricky situation. The 2 screws plus the bobbin winder, once removed, allowed us to release the back plate. Here he's taking the screws out of the bottom cover so as to take it off and reveal the mechanism. We're going to denude the machine as much as possible because I want to really be able to see in and do a thorough cleaning. The faceplate, which shows the various stitches, I didn't take pictures of. It just slides to one side and lifts off very easily. The hand wheel is attached with springs and can be slid off firmly. Then there's a screw below it and a screw below the bobbin winder that will release the end plate, the right hand end, as you sit sewing. We went ahead and removed the motor for maximum access. That silver grate is where the light resides. It just flips down. The end plate that covers the needle is released with a little lever and a screw marked number 1 in the diagram. Releasing 3 screws allows us to lift off the free arm cover, and the screw that he just tapped allows us to release the needle plate. Now we can start to get a really good look at the works, and they're dirty but not filthy. I've certainly seen worse. However, the mechanism is frozen. It barely moves at all. So we need to start cleaning and lubricating and unsticking it before we can even see what else might be needed. The product I'm using is LPS1, which was recommended to me years ago by a chemical engineer. It cleans, lubricates, and displaces moisture, and it helps me to find and pick out the fuzz. It foams a little bit, helping to wash out the crud with it. And it's safe for all the materials represented in a machine like this. Other people do successfully use other things. This is just our choices. So now we begin looking for fuzz, picking out any hardened grease or debris that we might find, lubricating, and then gently turning every dial, adjustment, and moving part until it moves freely. It's not all that difficult. It's painstaking, and you have to be gentle, however. This machine inside looks substantially different from a lot of sewing machines that I've worked on in the past. However, applying the same process works very well. The bobbin area is one where debris and crud and felted fuzz particularly tends to build up. So here we're taking it apart for better access. Those 3 screws will allow us to get deeper into the area and clean more thoroughly. Yes, it's pretty dirty. We're picking out quite a bit of crud and washing out some more. It's all getting absorbed onto those dark gray mats, so the mess won't be too bad. With the help of the cleaning solution and fingertips and the dental probe, quite a bit of crud is coming out of this area. We really need to examine the feed dock area, both for dirt and potential damage.
I see some crud.
I know there's crud. Go ahead and push the reverse button so we see it working. Beautiful. The subject came up the other day in one of the Viking groups about whether you could use a Colormatic cam from a different machine line, like an older 6020. Could it be used on the 6460? Here's what I am told. This cam has 3 distinct tabs of very specific size and configuration, and they fit into 3 distinct slots sized to receive them. Apparently, and bear in mind that I have not seen cams from an unmatching set, and I have not seen the fixed cam from one, but what I am told is that the slots and tabs are differently configured. If that's the case, obviously you can't match the wrong cam to the receiver. Partway through the cleaning process and lubricating, when we start to jiggle things, they actually begin to turn and appear to work properly. But they still feel stiffer than we think they ought to.
Yeah, it might be right in here. Let me have some.
Here's this. As we work with it, stuff like this keeps coming out from behind the collars in the straight shafts.
On the clubhouse turn. See, that's the stiff spot right there, where this is rocking. Okay, the feed dog is rocking, and that's where it's stiff. We'll go around the other way. And see, it's stiff again. Ooh. Did you see? Watch this shaft right here. It actually shifts back and forth. See it?
Of course. Jack bravely loosened the collars on the shafts so as to clean behind them better and tighten them all back down, and now things are going better. Here we think we see a break in the edge of the fixed cam, and we're wondering if it's serious enough to create a problem. This is the fixed cam, sometimes called the cam stack, from a 6460 Viking. This one is badly broken. This whole outer edge has come off. Here's where it fits into the machine. So this is what people mean when they say they have to change the cam stack, and I am now one of those people. The part that broke off contained 3 notches into which the 3 tabs of the removable cams are supposed to fit. These 3 tabs that stick out are meant to fit into 3 slots, which are now not in evidence on here because the whole outer cam is broken off. It wasn't quite this bad. While we were taking it out, it broke more profoundly than it already was broken. At the first point, there was a little break between one of the slots that should hold a tab and the edge. I'll show you a picture of that. That meant that this did not fit in neatly, but it could sort of slide in. If you look at the tabs closely, one is larger than the others. The one that should have received the large tab was the one that broke towards the edge. So you can see why this wouldn't seat in properly, but it almost looked like it did, and I'm going into all this detail so that you will realize it can have symptoms that you might not expect. For example, straight stitch worked just fine. See the nick right there? I'm expecting to need to file that down, otherwise it is likely to cause stitching issues. Well, we ordered and awaited the arrival of our new fixed cam. We experimented putting the machine back together most of the way with stitching and did not do well. The top thread usually refused to pull up the bobbin thread, and when it did pull it up, it immediately broke. We found excellent timing instructions on page 90 of the service manual and followed them. I was unable to get good film of that, I'm sorry, but it was really quite straightforward, and it improved matters greatly. However, the thread kept breaking quite often and quite aggravatingly until we discovered quite a gouge on part of the bobbin case. It's not very easy to see it in the pictures, but it was significant and probably caused by quite a bad needle jam. Filing that smooth does have the straight stitch working, but I'm also putting it on the shopping list. It turned out that the quickest place to get a cam stack from a reliable seller was on eBay. So we ordered this and it arrived and it's in now. So we got it all back together and it stitches beautifully except for some surprises. Straight stitch is fine. You see here that I haven't finished adjusting the relative tensions of the bobbin thread and the top thread, and I work on that a little along. There's no mystery there and nothing upsetting. But when I ended straight stitch and tried to go to zigzag stitch, what I was getting is the 3-step zigzag, the one that goes right, 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 left, 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 right, right, left, 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 which was mysterious. I couldn't do anything to get plain zigzag, and it responded to all the cams, sometimes beautifully. I got this stitch, for example, but it doesn't even slightly resemble what the cam is labeled. Well, this one did work right. And one of them did something even stranger, if I can find it for you. It alternated between 2 different stitches. Here we go. This would be a hem stitch. This is the 3-step zigzag, and it would go back and forth. So we decided a little bit more work is needed.
All right, this is the distance that the manual describes as 1/2 of a millimeter, which is about the width of that tip. But you can see I can go all the way down to almost the shank in that space.
So that would explain the bizarre behavior, huh?
Right, well, in straight stitch, this is supposed to be almost on the cam by the width of this screwdriver tip right there. And yet now it's like this, it's 3 or 4 times that size easily.
Well, that would be a problem.
So we'll go through the adjustment process. This is about 1/2 to 1 millimeter right there, but now watch. My dial is on 0. As I go around, notice this comes down, and it releases this, and listen, that's it touching the cam.
Okay, so that should work better, huh?
Right, right. Now, see, when you're in straight stitch, now it's taken away from the cam, and the cam has no effect on the follower. Now, when you go to any size stitch width, then it's riding that cam again. And that doesn't move it. That does move it. That moves it.
We're watching the fixed cam move in and out.
That's this.
Trying to understand exactly how to set the alignment.
Right.
And what dial are you turning? The one that would select which cam to read?
Right, right. This is the dial that's got the 4 color position.
Okay.
That position right there is green and purple. See it come out right there, and we're in red and orange. That's yellow. That's blue.
So it's definitely responding correctly. The main thing now is to get the alignment set, right?
This is, yes, this is the zig, 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 zag, zag, zag. And see, I'm thinking that piece right there is, you see how it's riding above the cam? If I come across the face of the cam, I'm hitting the edge of that follower.
Yeah.
I think the follower should be centered on that cam space, and it's not.
Okay.
Now, we showed you before when we went across this surface, it caught on that cam follower. Now, it's just a hair inside this surface, but it's not touching that surface back there. So I think we're in the position we need to be in.
Here I'm testing the various stitches, matching up the colors on the Colormatic with the cam that I'm using, which is the B cam, and seeing if I get the stitches that I planned to get, hoped to get. And for a change, I am. So I believe we have it fixed. Here I'm trying out the yellow stitch on the B cam. So I turn all the dials to yellow, and the stitch pictured in yellow is what I should get. Looks complicated, but it certainly is not. It's very, very straightforward. And there we go. And here we are at last. I'm getting a normal zigzag when I request one. And I've worked on the thread tension versus the bobbin tension. Satisfied with that. And now every cam is delivering the expected stitch.